Okay, quick video on the build I've been doing. I've been doing Grenadier, but I've been going Deadeye instead of Witch Hunter. So I'm a Ranger. Currently level 55. So obviously not optimized at all. A lot of it's still in the experimentation phase as we discover the game. But this is a warning. This build has a lot of buttons. So it revolves around just spamming a ton of grenades, basically. The main damaging grenade, we have Explosive Grenade. This I have linked with Primal Armament, which is more weapon elemental damage, Fire Infusion, and Scatter Shot. So Scatter Shot gives us less damage but more projectiles, so we get more of an overlap. You see how they all overlap? That's more damage. And then Fire Infusion gives more fire but less cold and lightning. Now by default, it has a really long fuse time, but if you use Explosive Shot, you can shoot them with Explosive Shot and they will detonate as soon as it hits it. That's the main way you're doing damage. On bosses, you can kind of wait for them to expire if they stand still a lot, otherwise you're gonna have to shoot it. And then, our buff grenades. First, we have Oil Grenade. What this does is it applies fire exposure, which reduces their total fire res by 20% and also slows them. That's extra damage. I don't have it linked to anything. There's probably something I could throw on it. Maybe like more AoE or something, I don't know. I have to find out. And then other buffing grenade. We have Gas Grenade. This makes a poison cloud. And then it also breaks their armor because of the corrosion support gem. And armor broken equals more physical damage, and all our skills do a little bit of physical damage. Cluster does quite a bit, so it doesn't convert as much. So it's 20% on the primary grenade, 40% on the mini grenades. And then, okay, those are the buffing grenades. For clearing and bossing, you're going to be using Flash Grenade. What Flash Grenade does is it does a bunch of stun. So their stun bar will fill up really fast. And you need to be doing this because grenades are pretty stationary and enemies tend to move. So when they stop moving, you can dump a ton of explosives and do a ton of damage. It also detonates pretty fast on its own. So I have a link with Overpower, which is more stun buildup. Ingenuity, which is increased cooldown recovery rate. I'm not sure how necessary this is for like bossing, but for clearing it feels really nice. Bossing you might not need to because the stun bar has like a buffer period where you can't really apply much until a certain amount of time has gone by. I don't actually know what that's based on, but then we got Ruthless. Every 5th attack does 500% more stun buildup, so every 5 times you cast Flash Grenade, it'll have a really big juicer stun. So, secondary damage grenade, we've got Cluster Grenade. It's mostly fizz with some fire. And what it does is it shoots one grenade that explodes, and then it explodes into more small grenades, which cluster like that. We have Execute, which deal 40% more damage against enemies that are on the phlegm is attacking. Against enemies that are low life, then we have Conk Effect. This will reduce the spread of the grenades, so they're more likely to hit the boss, even though they're smaller. But when you take it out, you'll see that it just goes like everywhere. You're not hitting a ton of stuff with that. I have Payload. This is probably not optimal, but as I'm using that mainly as a support damage right now, whenever I run out of explosive grenades, basically. It gives them more chance to activate at the cost of reduced cooldown recovery. So right now my cooldown recovery is really fast, so using all my grenades, I pretty much always have an explosive grenade up, but in the case where I don't, I'll just chuck the cluster grenades and let them cool down. And then this will be back to full really quickly. Then, what else? Wind Dancer is my aura. I don't know if I said that. This is take 2, so. Then this Bone Storm. I haven't really been using this, but it debuffs the enemy and makes them take additional fizz. And it's a lot of flat fizz. And it will stack up on them for every bone that hits. So it'll be like the next 20 hits or something. Haven't used it too much because like it's a lot of buttons. You have a big rotation. Adding another button. And I'm going to look for ways to reduce the rotation a bit. Hopefully in the end game with like gearing can fix that up a little bit. So what you want to do for your rotation is you oil shot, then you gas shot, and then explosive shot, and that'll blow up everything. And then for your supplementary damage, you also throw cluster grenades occasionally. I'd probably open with it and let the cooldown tick, and then just throw it whenever it's up. And then you'll spam flash grenades when the stun meter is being affected by it. You'll notice the stun meter when it moves a lot and when it doesn't. When it's not moving much, don't worry about the flash grenades. And then you also throw it to open into packs so they all get stunned, and it clears a lot of trash too, honestly. So, why Deadeye, not Witch Hunter? I'm pretty sure I didn't do that in this take. So, I just wasn't set on Witch Hunter because it looked like mostly clear stuff, and the boss stuff, I don't know how it was going to function. I felt like it was too much of a risk, so I went Deadeye, which gets... The main thing is Tailwind. Tailwind does give you movement speed, increased skill speed, increased evasion rating, and you get 10 stacks. That's 150% increased evasion rating, 30% skill speed, 10% move speed. It makes you very fast. Now, you might be wondering how you sustain this. Well, I often sustain it just throwing grenades because you cast a lot. But if you want a quick charge up, you can use rapid shot. Here's the buff. Watch the number here as I shoot this. Okay, I ran out of ammo. Okay, but you get the point, right? If I held it down, it would have been 10 in like less than a second. So then, this is the second Tailwind node, which does 3% less damage taken, but at 10 stacks, that's 30% less, which is a huge defensive boost. And then also with the evasion rating stacking up, you'll get a lot of evasion rating. You have more chance to evade things, and evade is very powerful in PvE2. Strikes or projectiles, so pretty much anything that's not AoE, spells or attacks, you will avoid. Often, I'm at 69% right now, nice. I mean, depends on the enemy too, but you know. Tooltip evasion percent. Then after you take these, you can, if you want to go a little squishier, you could opt for these second. And then go up here, you take this, and you get point blank. Since the grenades don't travel very far, right? And then we get skills, additional projectile, which is obviously just more damage. More projectiles on this build is just straight up more damage because you get more overlap. You're going to want to use, I'm currently not using it, but there is a crossbow base called Bombarding Crossbow. This is what you're going to want to use. I just haven't been able to get a good one. It gives you +1 grenades, so an additional projectile. On gear, that's really the only required thing. I mean, it's not required, but heavily recommended. Now, here's the tree. I'll link a planner for like acts 1 through 3, but I haven't planned the full tree yet. That's what I have so far. Some notable things are the grenade stuff is down here. So grenade +1 skill use, additional projectile, increase fuse duration, got reduced fuse duration, and then some cooldown stuff. And now here, we got grenades, activate 15% additional times, or 15% chance to activate a second time. Other than that, just some damage nodes. AoE. So you basically just follow the path. Pick up everything along the way. You don't really go back for anything. And then I'll make an update video if I continue this build. It is a lot of buttons. I might look at one that's slightly less buttons. But, yeah. And now I will show you what it looks like on a quick boss here in level 56 zone. Act 2, Cruel. There you go. Pretty good damage. The problem comes when you get a boss that moves around a lot. Like there's this one guy. This is the only one I've really had issues with, is when you do the trial for your first ascendancy point, or your second, the one that goes into Sanctum, the genie you have to kill is just obnoxious. It just constantly moves, but I mean, that's a problem for a lot of builds, but especially on this one.